My older brother never wanted to get married. So, to carry on the family name, my parents had me, even though they were older. The result, my mom died in childbirth, and my dad just vanished. I ended up being shuffled between my aunts and my uncle's houses. Then when I was 7, all my relatives finally had enough. They filed a lawsuit. They wanted my brother to take me in. The day the court order came down, I struggled to drag my tiny suitcase along. My hand shook as I reached out and grabbed my brother's arm just as he was leaving the courthouse. He frowned and turned around. I looked up at the brother I was meeting for the first time. His eyes were full of hatred and ice. He stared at the hand on his arm. His perfectly pressed suit. The sleeve now had a small wrinkled spot from my grip. I was shaking. Under his warning glare, I got scared and wanted to let go. What's with the attitude? Suja, the court order is final. You think you can still get out of it? My uncle said, all self-righteous, waving the court order. Parents are gone. The eldest brother takes over. It's been 7 years. It's high time you took care of your own brother. I didn't have any other choice. I couldn't take care of myself. My hand was still on his sleeve. Frozen in fear, I just couldn't bring myself to let go. But the look on my brother's face was pure disgust. He shoved me away. His cold gaze moved to my aunt and uncle. His voice was like ice. Wasn't I the one the Sue family kicked out? What parents? What brother? My uncle was speechless for a second. Then go argue with the court. Sunyan is your responsibility now. Don't think you can dump him back on us. I just stood there, head down, too scared to make a sound. The weather had turned cold, and the wind was strong, but my face felt like it was burning. My clenched fists wouldn't stop trembling. My palms were sweaty. I knew no one wanted me. My brother gave me another cold, dismissive look. He let out a scoff. He seemed like he didn't want to waste any more time. He just left me there and walked to his car, parked nearby. He slammed the door. The engine started. It looked like he was about to drive off. My aunt's face hardened. She and my uncle ran towards the car, bumping into me angrily as they passed. What are you just standing there for, you idiot? Go after him. You want to keep clinging to us forever, you little freeloader? The shove sent me crashing to the ground. My head spun. Ignoring the pain, I scrambled up, panicked. When I looked up again, my aunt had already thrown herself onto the front of my brother's car. She was leaning on the hood, slapping it with both hands. There's no justice. A rich brother driving a fancy car wants to break the law and abandon his own little brother. More and more people started to notice. A small crowd gathered. My aunt's wailing got louder. My uncle also started shouting to the crowd, pouring out his side of the story. The crowd grew, and the noise level rose. It started to disturb the court. A judge came out to try and mediate. My aunt and uncle ignored him. The judge had no choice but to go to my brother's car window. He tapped on the glass. Finally, the window rolled down. My brother's face was tight with anger. His hands gripped the steering wheel, knuckles white, veins bulging on the back of his hands. Mr. Sue, do you need any assistance? Hey, isn't that the forensic Dr. Sue? He helped solve that big case last month, right? A famous forensic doctor like him must make good money. Can he really just ignore his own little brother? The whispers and sighs mixed with my aunt and uncle's yelling. My brother's furious face started to pale, a flicker of humiliation showing. He looked at me, jaw tight, and tilted his head towards the car. For a second, I was surprised, then I scrambled into action. I dragged my suitcase and ran to the back of the car as fast as I could. I fumbled around on the trunk for a while, but couldn't figure out how to open it. People were just watching the show. No one offered to help. I gripped the handle tightly and just awkwardly hauled the suitcase into the back seat with me. Before I could even get settled, my brother floored the gas. The car shot forward. I wasn't ready. Me and the suitcase slammed hard into the back of the front seats. Stars exploded in my vision. My nose stung so bad tears came to my eyes. In the rearview mirror, I could see my brother's face, dark and full of resentment. My head was throbbing. His voice sounded muffled and cold. You're just like them. I didn't understand. I just sat there shaking, holding onto my suitcase for dear life, gripping the handle with all my weak strength. Good at playing dumb and acting pitiful, just like them. I still didn't really get it, but I knew it wasn't a compliment. Nervously, I twisted my hands together. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw a photo hanging from the rearview mirror. The windows were partly open, the wind making the photo sway silently. I could vaguely make out a woman's face, a stranger. Maybe 17 or 18. Fair skin, a beautiful smile. I didn't dare stare. I just looked away, head down. My mouth started to fill with sour saliva, right when I thought I was going to be sick. The speeding car screeched to a halt. We were in some neighborhood. I threw open the door and stumbled out, barely making it to a trash can before I threw up violently. When I was done and turned around, my brother still hadn't gotten out of the car. I crept closer, peering through the half-open window. I saw his pale, vacant profile. He was holding a handkerchief, carefully wiping the photo of the woman that was hanging in the car. She must be someone very important. He wiped it with such care, his face soft. But after a moment, the cold mask was back. He opened the door and got out. I dragged my suitcase, following him cautiously into the elevator and up to his floor. At the entrance, worried about getting the floor dirty, I quietly took off my shoes. My brother led me to a small room at the end of the hall on the first floor. He wouldn't even look at me, probably disgusted. He just muttered, "Stay in there, and stay out of sight. I don't want to see you around." I nodded quickly. I was about to push the door open, when a little girl's voice suddenly piped up behind me. "Brother, who is she?" My hand on the suitcase handle jerked. I turned to look. A girl so thin her face was almost white stared back. She looked about my age. She was holding a porcelain doll, her dark eyes fixed on me like I was an intruder in her territory. Her look was pure defense and rejection. Instinctively, I was scared. I took a couple of steps back. My brother, whose face had been frozen, immediately softened. He took off his own jacket and walked over, draping it over the girl's thin shoulders. Then he grabbed some slippers, crouched down, and put them on her bare feet. "Brother, I'm scared of him. Can he not stay here?" Suja gently patted her head. He's just a distant relative staying with us for a bit. If Tiantian doesn't like it, he'll leave, okay? I didn't understand why she got to call him brother, or who this little girl even was. I just felt this overwhelming sense of unease. I gathered my courage and whispered, "Brother, I don't have anywhere else to go." The little girl started to cry softly. Suja whipped his head around, glaring at me. "I'm not your brother. Did I not make that clear? Get in your room and stay there." I didn't dare say another word. I turned, fumbled with the door, pushed it open, and went inside. I closed the door. The crying outside continued. No one had ever comforted me like that. I just thought the way my brother soothed her, so gently it sounded nice. The room was mostly filled with storage stuff. A tiny bed was shoved in the corner like an afterthought. I lay down on it. I looked out the window. It was pitch black outside. I couldn't even remember how many different places I'd been sent to. My brother hated the Sioux family. That meant he hated me too, just because I was a Sioux. But the truth is, no one in the Sioux family ever liked me either. No one ever treated me like family. My mom died right after I was born. My dad couldn't accept that I was a son. He took his anger out on me, hit me for a whole year. Then he left with some pregnant woman, and never came back. After that, I was like a ball. Kicked around from one relative to the next, met with nothing but disgust. I tried so hard to be useful. I helped my uncle move stock at his little shop. I changed my aunt's grandson's diapers and washed his clothes. On my way to and from school, I picked up bottles to sell. The money I gave to my uncle, plus what I got from the school's financial aid every semester, I begged my teacher to make sure I got my share. My aunt's little grandson was a handful. He hurt me once. A nurse at the hospital suspected I was being abused. She quietly asked if I wanted her to call the police. I was in so much pain, gritting my teeth, but I still managed to smile and told her, I was just playing and got hurt. I tried everything to make people like me. I survived 7 years at my relatives' houses. Ate as little as possible, spent as little as possible, but you can't make people like you. They finally had enough. Even if it meant going to court, they had to get rid of me. I tossed and turned in bed, wrapped in the blanket. But I just couldn't get warm. There was this empty feeling, like I'd forgotten something. Why did it feel so empty? Every time I moved to a new place over the years, I felt the same way. But really all I ever owned were a few worn-out clothes. I used to have some books, but my aunt said, let your brother buy you new books after you transfer. She sold my books before the court date even happened. Bought candy for her grandson with the money. I shook off the memory. I got out of bed, took the 2 old shirts from my suitcase and hugged them close. I lay back down. It felt a little more solid now, a little more real. My head was fuzzy and throbbing. I felt burning hot, then shivering cold, probably a fever. I seemed to get sick a lot. Once I heard a doctor mention it. My mom was pretty old when she had me. That's why I was always so frail. I curled up trying to hug myself warm, but I was still so cold. I was shivering uncontrollably when I heard a knock at the door. The little girl's voice came through. Come out, brother wants you. My head was so foggy. I got out of bed, my feet feeling like they were stepping on clouds. In a daze, I followed her upstairs. She opened a door. I went in after her, but my brother wasn't there. It seemed like a study. There were bookshelves. On the floor next to a bookshelf, there was a picture frame lying face down. The glass looked shattered. I recognized the face in the photo. It was the woman from the picture in my brother's car. But in this frame, the photo was in black and white. Before I could look closer, the girl suddenly screamed. My brother came rushing in, his face dark. I slowly started to come to my senses, hearing the girl cry and tell my brother something. My brother completely lost it. Get out! Get out! I'm telling you, I'm not taking care of you anymore. Anything connected to the Sioux family makes me sick. Go! Let the sus take me to court. It was already past midnight. I was kicked out. I had nowhere to go. I just sat there blankly on a bench by the Luhua Dai. My head was getting hotter. It felt like a swarm of buzzing insects was inside my skull, a constant ringing in my ears. I looked up and saw so many stars in the night sky. Then I blinked and they were all gone. In the city at night, there are no stars in the sky. Back in the small town when I got sent out, punished by my aunt, I'd stand outside and look up at the sky full of stars keeping me company. I looked down again. It hurt a little. I didn't even have the stars anymore. My head felt so heavy. I was fading out. Then I heard a very soft voice. Xiao Nian. It was the same gentle tone my brother used with that little girl. My heart leapt. I looked up, hopeful. I saw a beautiful woman in a pure white dress. She came towards me like an angel. She gently gathered me into her arms. Right after I was born, my mom left the Sioux family. Everyone was always unkind to me, but I never saw my mom be unkind, so I could imagine she was the best, the one who loved me most. I snuggled into her arms, acting cute. In this whole world, the only one I could act cute with was Mom. She was soft, smelled nice, and was always warm. I'm so cold. I'm sick too. Then let Mom take Xiaonian to the hospital. I was so happy. I stood up with her. I've heard shots at the hospital hurt a lot, but if Mom takes me, I wouldn't be afraid of 100 shots. Joyfully, I reached out my other hand to hold her arm, but my hand grasped nothing but air. I saw that the hand I thought was being held was just hanging in the air. I rubbed my eyes. When I looked again, the stars weren't in the sky, and Mom was gone. Everything went blurry. With a thud, my head hit the ground. I couldn't feel anything anymore. I didn't know if I'd wake up this time. I felt like I'd been asleep for a long time. Then I heard hurried footsteps approaching. I felt someone touch my forehead. Strangers' voices, surprised. Oh my god, whose child is this? He must have a fever of 104. Where are the parents? Isn't this the forensic Dr. Sue's little brother? The one the court just assigned to him yesterday? Call him quick. No matter what. The kid is innocent. The chaotic chatter drilled into my ears. I forced my eyes open. I stood up swaying and said, I'm fine. Just out for a walk. I can go back on my own. When I lived at my uncle's, I'd miss breakfast for days. I'd faint at kindergarten from low blood sugar. The teacher would call my uncle. He'd take me home. Furious. Do you want everyone to think I'm abusing you? Your mother's dead. Your father doesn't want you. I'm kind enough to take you in, and you're an ungrateful little brat. That's how I ended up at my aunt's. But I really didn't mean to faint. I saw a man pull out his phone, frowning. I'm calling Suja. I wanted to stop him, panicked. But the call was already going through. The man put it on speaker. He explained the situation. I heard my brother's cold, impatient voice, slurred slightly. I'm not dealing with him. If he's dying, let him die. Dawn was breaking. Sunlight touched me. But I only felt colder. I hung my head, not knowing what to do, gripping the edge of my shirt. I could barely stand. The trees and the people seemed to be swaying. I held on, trying not to fall. This kid looks like he's about to collapse. We don't usually get involved. But this is public property, the Luhadai. If you're going to abandon the kid, at least get him off the property. I understood dimly. Even this patch of grass wasn't for me. My brother finally came down. The neighbors rushed off to work. As soon as he appeared, I was terrified. I lifted my head just a little. The smell of alcohol on him was strong. My uncle smelled like that when he'd been drinking. Head down, playing mute, making sure everyone knows. I kicked you out? You happy now? My uncle's angry voice echoed in my ears. You just want everyone to think I'm abusing you, don't you? Those endless accusations. They overlapped with my brother's voice now. When my brother reached out, his hand looked just like my uncle's. His hand touched my forehead. I felt that familiar sharp pain again. I flinched and stumbled back, shaking. I'm sorry. I won't do it again, even though I didn't know what I'd done wrong. I didn't mean to faint. I didn't call those people. The sharp pain on my forehead faded. Slowly, I realized he hadn't actually hit me. My forehead was just covered in cold sweat. I looked up. I saw my brother's face as cold as I expected, but for a split second, something else flickered in his eyes. I didn't know what to say. Anything to make his anger go away. Dizzy and dazed, almost numb, I just kept repeating, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. The yelling I expected, the scolding, it didn't come. For a long moment, my brother just sat down heavily beside me on the bench. I glanced at him carefully. His eyes were red. From the alcohol. From staying up all night. Or maybe something else. My hands lay useless in my lap. I twisted my feet together. I don't know how long passed. I heard him mutter, his voice full of pain. She died. She died. He must mean the woman in the photo. I didn't dare make a sound. I just listened to his hollow voice. Like he was talking to himself. He told me the most horrible, hopeless parts of his past. Abused by his stepfather. His mother saw it happen and did nothing. He was terrified anyone would find out. But he said I was different. I wasn't like them. He stared at me, eyes burning red. Then that woman used those secrets to threaten her. She cut things off with me. That woman said she found out those secrets from me. That woman said her son always does what he's told. He never hides anything from her. I think I already knew the answer, but I asked anyway. Who was that woman? My brother laughed. His eyes were like knives stabbing into me. Your dear mother, of course. I couldn't speak. My eyes went wide. I shook my head desperately. My brother's eyes were red, staring into the distance. The sun was coming up. That day, that girl came to the rooftop to find me. She wanted to ask me something. We used to go there to talk privately. Then her illness, it came on, and she fell. His hand gripped the edge of the bench, knuckles white. It looked painful. I screamed. I was in so much pain. No, not Mom. That's not how it was. All these years, the only one who was gentle, the only one who loved me was Mom. She always wore a white dress. She would hold me. She would buy me toys. She would take me to the doctor. My brother leaned in close, staring into my eyes, like I was the most ridiculous thing he'd ever seen. Not how it was. Then who do you think she was? She was a control freak. A sick, twisted piece of garbage. Her and that man, they were the same. Their marriage was a disaster. They had no careers. They were vain and shallow. So they pushed me to be first at everything. Better than any other kid. I was the only thing they had to show off in their miserable marriage. One time I had a high fever during an exam, almost passed out. I didn't get first place for the first time. That man messed with my food. When I was unconscious, he broke one of my ribs. That woman went crazy, illegally investigated Xiaowen. Anyone I was close to found out those things. Then she blamed it on me, said I told. Xiaowen dropped out, cut off all contact. Something inside me just shattered. In all those 7 years of being unwanted and ignored, the only bit of warmth I had, the only thing I could imagine, was my mom. The one person in the world who loved me. Tears started streaming down my face. I couldn't move. I just sat there frozen, repeating, no, your name, she even named you. Originally it wasn't Nian. It was Chi, the character for shame. The nurse said it wasn't right, so she reluctantly changed it to Nian. I cut off contact with her. I wouldn't get married. She fantasized about having a daughter, but she had a son. She broke down and said, shame, shame. My tears fell big and fast. But they felt like someone else's tears. My body and mind felt like they were floating away. I shook violently. Sobbing, I managed to say, that's not true. Mom told me that you were her precious child too. Suju stared at me, disbelieving. He let out a scoff. She told you? She died from blood loss less than 3 days after you were born, so angry she couldn't stop. How could she tell you anything? I just stared at him, dumb and terrified. I had nothing left to say. I always forgot. But now I remembered. Mom had been dead for a long time. She died soon after I was born. I used to think it was because of childbirth, but that wasn't it. Mom didn't die from childbirth, and she didn't love me. The one person I thought loved me in this world hated me the most. She never loved me. I never had anything at all. My brother looked lost, let out a cold laugh, got up and walked towards the elevator. I choked on a sob, my whole body trembling. I scrambled to my feet, stumbling after him. I have nothing left. I knew he didn't want me either, but I still reached out, begging, hopelessly, and grabbed his clothes. I sobbed and begged. Please don't leave me. No one wants me. I have nowhere to go. I'll do anything you say. Please, please don't leave me. Please, don't leave me too. My brother seemed to come back to himself. He looked down at me, his voice completely empty. Do you know why I adopted a girl about your age?